Imagine I know nothing. Imagine. What? What is BlueFort Evolve?
So BlueFort Evolve is a wrapper of services. Probably the simplest analogy I can give you is think Amazon Prime for the cybersecurity world. So for our clients, we've got a basket of specific technology and solutions that we've been supplying them, and in many cases for many years. But what we worked out was that there are a number of gaps around those technologies and solutions that our customers were experiencing. Things like access to experts on demand in 2-hour bite-sized chunks. Things like the ability to get a chance to have a system health check. Things like the chance to try new technologies without any obligation. Things like having the chance to workshop and train and do deep dives into the existing technologies and investments that you've got. If you think about that, they form a wrapper around our solutions, and we've called that Evolve. So in a nutshell, that's the solution.
So I mean, I can imagine a lot of companies would love to have 2 hours with an expert. You know, that may be all that they really need, is that just like, oh, just someone to speak to work out how to fix this problem. And that comes as part of Evolve.
Yes, well, it's actually better than that, because what you're doing is you're kind of like buying the access kind of in advance. Think of it like a subscription, and we're not limiting you to kind of like, you know, 1 or 2 sort of these accesses to the expert. You can have, you know, depending on which tier you buy into, you can have between 10 and unlimited. So the idea is that rather than every time the customer needing some cybersecurity help, they have to kind of like pick up the phone, you know, try and identify a company and an expert to speak to. We have the experts available on demand, and they can just, you know, call up and book a slot with them whenever they need it. So it kind of gets past the budget issues. They don't have to raise a purchase order, you know, and all of that whole kind of like, you know, time lag is condensed, and we can give it to you kind of like, you know, whenever you need it.
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? Because it would be such a nuisance if every time you need a little bit of consultancy, or we you know, or we want a bit of that software as well, or want a bit of this, want a bit of that. If you had to go back to your boss, get him to sign off again and make the business justification for it, and go and speak to the accounts team and get a purchase, or, oh my goodness, all that palaver. Whereas if you've got them to sign up once,
yes,
and then it's, you know, the riches are available to you.
And I think what we learned from speaking to our customers was that even with all these new and exciting and diverse cloud and SaaS and cyber security sort of technologies and developments, the underlying support experience for the typical client was still based on archaic, broken, historic support models. A lot of them dating back 10, 20 years. So if you imagine, you know, the fact that there's only one support experience for a typical client, no matter how large or small they are, and very often, you know, being kept at a distance and trying to sort of reduce the level of interaction with the vendor, and a support ticket is seen as a problem, not an opportunity to learn. Those sorts of attitudes were ones that we were keen to change with Evolve.
Hang on, you're actually suggesting that this name Evolve is actually correctly used.
Absolutely.
This isn't just a piece of brand, this isn't just the marketing department. I thought we'll call it Evolve. This is actually about something which has moved forward and improved.
Exactly, Evolve is evolving. And will continue to evolve. And you know, to take further what Dave has said there, it's kind of like there's 2 things really. The vendor's own sort of direct support is limited pretty much to break fix. At the same time, you've got customers bringing on more and more technologies, and the skills and the training for the kind of employees on the ground with our customers is not keeping up with the rate of change. So that kind of like leaves this kind of like gap that they're relying on more and more tools to secure their environments, and kind of like the knowledge in any one of those tools within the customer environment is diminishing all of the time. So if you like, the kind of the value that we can add is that we can parachute somebody in for a couple of hours or a day or whatever it is to actually help with those problems. And I mean, it's really designed to help the customer to derive as much value as they can from those solutions. You might think it's kind of, you know, a bit counterintuitive. You know, we're not trying to sell them anything else. We're trying to, you know, show them that they can get as much value as possible out of the solutions that they've ever bought, so that they don't have to go and buy more and more solutions, leading to kind of, you know, overlap and gaps and things like that. It's about fully recognising and getting that return on investment that you've already made.
And what's the reaction been like from customers to Evolve?
It's been fantastic. I think one of the other big themes that we've seen that's live and real for us right now is that lots of our customers are suffering from skill shortages themselves. And one thing that we quickly learnt was that organisations like BlueFort, who've got services like Evolve, can often offer the continuity that the customers miss themselves. So where they've got constant change in their staff and constant states of flux within their own employee base, very often it transpires that service providers like ourselves, have got the big picture, the long picture, and it's that intelligence about their systems and continuity that we can really offer to differentiate ourselves. They're working in this sort of state of flux and with a really high turnover and a lot of job hopping, as we all know right now. We offer that as an extra part of the service, so it's gone down really well.
Why is Evolve at the heart of, really everything that you're doing at BlueFort this year?
I think, simply put, we discovered that lots of organisations were struggling in a number of areas, and the same themes kept repeating themselves. The first one is, and we kind of have touched on that with a lot of our recent kind of content and customer dialogues, there's so much noise in the cybersecurity space. There's thousands of new solution providers, there's thousands of new threats. There's a lot of noise to sift through. So firstly, there's an opportunity for an organisation like ours to offer that filtration service and keeping the key messages clear and doing a lot of that heavy lifting for our clients in technology selection and information forwarding and gathering around threats and issues. So that's definitely one big area. The other area is connected to the skill shortage. So being able to offer rapid access to highly skilled individuals without too much friction and without significant overhead. That we think we found a model that delivers that flexibility for our clients really nicely. And then the final point really is just as far as sort of pulling all that together and how do we define that as a service? What is it that we're trying to achieve here? And what we realised was that many organisations have either had negative experiences with fully managed security service providers and others at the other end of the scale where they've simply bought technology and have been handed the manual and they're on their own. And we've identified that somewhere between those two areas is a really sweet spot for us and for our clients with something that we're doing that seems to be working well for them.
Ian, what are the top 3 features of BlueFort Evolve?
So we've been driven by our customers for this. So BlueFort Evolve has been around in one form or another for about 6 years now. And we've listened to our customers and we've been driven by them because a number of them have come back to us and said, look, you offer it on these products and vendors. Can you expand the solution? So one of the benefits that we're bringing on this year is the ability to spread the service and the capability over a lot more vendors than we could previously. So whereas before we offered it over about sort of 5 or 6 different vendors, we're able to now offer it about across about 20 vendors, and it's all the sort of your common sort of household names in there, so that we feel we can help everybody to an extent. The other I think really important benefit is that we have this kind of like buffet of kind of benefits that we've kind of gone out and we've done the agreements with a number of kind of like third-party vendors, and we're able to deliver and offer a number of different scans and real kind of like value-added pieces of work to customers without them signing up for a subscription. So, for example, if a customer wanted a ransomware assessment to see kind of like what their underlying security posture was, or kind of like an internal pen test to see, at the moment people get an external pen test once a year. Using our vendor partnerships, we're able to do a kind of like an internal pen test to find the vulnerabilities, find out whether they're exploitable, and put that all important context around everything to see where to focus. And so we're not where we're kind of going from is kind of like a kind of like a reactive to a kind of a proactive service. And then the other thing, and I think this is kind of like one of the original features of Evolve, and it's definitely the one that probably is really popular with our customers, is, as we've spoken about, the sort of the expertise on demand, because they know that whatever the question is and whatever the problem is that they have, they can just pick up the phone and they can talk to somebody, and we'll if we need to do a deeper dive, then we'll schedule something in for a day or two down the line, so that they've got that kind of like flexibility and agility to solve problems. So if in the news there's a particular issue, well, they can phone us and we'll help them.
That's brilliant, isn't it? That's really invaluable, isn't it? Because when you need help, when you need expertise, knowing that you can ring a number and speak to an expert is something pretty huge.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we're still continuing to evolve the solution, and we're certainly moving into the kind of like concept of security as a service. So rather than, you know, if you look at where, as Dave said, the kind of like the archaic support model of a decade ago, then it was, you know, you get break fix support and maybe a couple of engagements on top of that, and really we're trying to take it through now so that we're there as the kind of like the trusted advisor, holding our client's hand and like leading them through, you know, the journey that we're all on with cybersecurity, to make sure that they're always, you know, kept abreast of the risks, you know, what can be done about those risks, and here is an advisory service.
It sounds wonderful. It sounds a bit like my dream of turning up to a wedding and there's a huge buffet table with a gallimaufry of delicacies which I can pick and choose and decide what I want.
I mean, that is not, that's not an uncommon analogy you make there. I mean, there is genuinely, within our capabilities, we've tried to give our customers access to the best that BlueFort and our partners can offer. And I guess the other thing that's sort of often driven by that is that the sorts of features that we add into the buffet, for want of a better phrase there, are very often client-driven themselves. So, you know, it would be that, could you do this, or is it possible that we might be able to kind of experience something like this? And a really great example of that, actually, is if you imagine as some of the kind of common themes we touch on at the moment are around the fact that people have lost sight of their threat surface. So, you know, new resources are in the cloud and everywhere else on top.
Yeah.
And there are big blind spots. And I guess one of the big things we find there is that many of the tools that we work with and many of the partnerships that we have give fantastic visibility into all of those missing and absent assets. But when you found them, to then interpret what actually, you know, what threats they're exposed to and what can I then do to remediate those problems, that's often where, you know, the engagement in normal circumstances outside of Evolve would end. You know, a customer is given a laundry list and left to mull, you know, and kind of, you know, dwell. And our takeaway from that was, well, look, actually, yeah, you know, we had customers specifically asking us, great, you've helped us find this now. Now, how do we turn that into actionable, you know, kind of responses? And that's where Evolve really comes into its own.
So your message, both of you, to your customers, check out Evolve, check out BlueFort Evolve, try the buffet.
We actually offer that as well.
Yeah,
you can try the buffet.
Yeah.
If you're not convinced, we're happy to give
Well, you're going to wheel round a buffet?
New clients get a selection of buffet items that they can just make a start on.
I can see a marketing, like your Just Eat voucher in the post or something.
Hello. There you are. Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Ian
Thank you.
and David.
Thank you.